Oh yeah, I heard about that he couldn't say that the WNBA, the cream of the crop of the WNBA, couldn't be the LA Lakers.
Couldn't even admit that.
Wait, what?
During the real-time show, he would not admit that the WNBA could not beat the Lakers? No way.
Scientific America.
Okay, I'll tell you the reason. Because there is obviously morphological differences between men and women. And then there is a lot of overlap. We have one of the closest morphological differences between the average man and the average woman. But you tend to get more women that are smaller and lighter, and the men tend to be bigger and taller. And then so like the biggest, strongest, tallest man is going to always be bigger, stronger and taller than the biggest, strongest, tallest woman. But the biggest, strongest, tallest woman is bigger, stronger and taller than I am, even though I'm 6 foot, but she could still attain a body mass that I couldn't. But it's all about population size. One of the things that I've done the Masters in Population Research, and when you talk about population size, a lot of these differences become apparent. And the issue that the WNBA will have is just literally the sheer numbers of women that want to play in the WNBA. And then you think about all of the schools and colleges across the whole of America that want to play in the NBA, and you've got all those women and all those men. Right now, the WNBA, all the best players you've got, will not be able to beat the LA Lakers because their teams are one of the highest amounts of money, and they have some of the best players in the whole of the country, in the whole of the world. There just simply isn't enough of a pool to draw from of women in the WNBA. So you tend to get a lot of skill gap differences. We notice this in football in Britain, in the Women's League. You used to look at some of the scores in the games, it could be like 10, 12 goals to nil because of that skill gap difference. So you've got to watch out for that. Anyway, that's just the start.
Huh? The magazine. I remember when it was around when I was
grew up with it, yeah.
Grew up with it.
Yeah.
Well, their editor had to quit.
That's bad.
You saw this.
Yeah, I heard about it because she expressed some opinions. Right. Yeah.
Okay, right, sure, but it sure didn't sound scientific. It didn't sound like the person I would want to be running Scientific American.
Okay.
It was a rant on Twitter. I apologize to younger voters that my Gen X is so full of fucking fascists. Okay, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not
a gasket right there.
I'm not for.
All right.
Yeah. I'm not for canceling anybody on either side.
Yeah.
So But here's what I think is the scandal.
Okay, there is a difference though, I will say, between cancelling, which is you, as a group, we go out and try and get somebody fired from their job, right? Or somebody goes onto Twitter, blows a gasket, as Neil deGrasse Tyson said, and brings her organization into disrepute. You tend to have clauses in contracts that say that. There are social media clauses these days that mean you can't do behavior like that. You can express your views and your opinions, but you can't blow a gasket, offend people. Well, you can't help offending people. You can't insult people is what I meant to say. And then so she got fired because of that. That's not cancellation.
This is in Scientific American, less than a year ago. Inequity between male and female athletes is the result not of inherent biological difference.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go to Scientific American anyway, even 10, 20 years ago, to look for scientific things. I'm sorry, hot taker probably, but it's not the place I would go to look for my science. It's not a very good magazine. But secondly, the theory that men evolved to hunt and women evolved together is wrong. That is true. However, what she's saying at the start here isn't accurate. That's a misrepresentation and a politicization of the main science, which is why it's unscientific, and this is also why she got fired. When you find all of these bones and you find all this stuff in the ground, you find traces of evidence of things, and you build a hypothesis on it, and then that hypothesis is there to be tested. However, the evidence can only support a hypothesis when it comes to archaeology, anthropology, psychology. I'm an ecological psychologist and a health analyst. So when it comes to psychology, anthropology, archaeology, and all those things, we can never prove a hypothesis. because of the way that we have to do the science. It can never be proven like it is in physics and chemistry. We can only support a hypothesis. So the theory is actually a hypothesis that men evolved to hunt and women evolved to gather is wrong. No, the hypothesis is being unsupported by the evidence that's available. And the available evidence is that some women at some point in their lives supported the men hunting. It doesn't mean that they did it alone. It doesn't mean that they were superior or different or anything like that. That evidence isn't available. We don't know which women did it and when. We only know that women of a certain age went out and helped the men hunt. We don't know why they did it. Was it because there was low numbers of men? Was it because those women were past childbearing age? Was it because they were before, like, having children, so they had different roles within the tribe? And once they have children, do they stay back in the tribe and help raise the children and then gather with the kids? Or do you not gather until you're elderly? In this terms, elderly would have been about 35. So there's a lot that we don't know.
Between the sexes, but of biases in how they are treated in sports. That's nuts, and it sure ain't scientific, and it's in Scientific American. That's why the Democrats lost the election. It's true.
He's right. It's not funny.
Bill, every 20 minutes.
Yeah, I love Neil deGrasse Tyson. I don't know why he's laughing there. I think he's laughing because he's uncomfortable, and because of the way that he's built up his persona. This is something that he can't talk about. However, I will also say he's a physicist. He's a fucking physicist. Why are you getting a physicist to talk about psychology or biology or politics and ideology? He's not there to talk about that. Ask him about the freaking stars and black holes and he's happy. He shouldn't be talking about this and he shouldn't be allowing this to happen.
On your platform, you come up with another reason why the Democrats lost. You already have the answer. They lost the election. So anything you say is why they did it.
First of all, you don't watch this show, so you don't know.
I will actually say that he was right there, that Bill Maher tends to come up with single reasons why things happen. Actually, it's a giant, complicated mess of why the Democrats lost the election. But I don't have time for that right now today.
No, you don't, and it's okay. But you talk as if you do, and you fucking don't. And that's okay. Just don't bullshit me. That's the one thing people can't ever do on your show is bullshit.
They bullshit you all the time. Shut your face.
What I'm asking is, Scientific American is saying that the reason why an WNBA team can't beat the Lakers is because of societal bias.
What you're saying is not Scientific American says that. An editor for Scientific American says that, who no longer has the job. So don't indict a 170-year-old magazine because somebody
this is called...
I disagree with that. They're a publisher. Everything that they publish is assumed to be representing their viewpoint. That's the difference between a platform and a publisher. That's why Facebook can get away with having bullshit on it, but Scientific American couldn't. They fired her, though? Yeah, after they approved the article and published it. Yeah. Did they fire her for that article, or did they fire her for something unrelated?
Printing something
because someone enters the cesspool that is social media and then
it's not social media, it's an article.
Participates in that exchange. So
why can't you
let's talk about science?
Why can't you just say this is not scientific and Scientific American should do better?
Well, does she still have her job?
No. Not because of this. I said the scandal is not her tweet.
Because that was like a year ago. Was it? Yeah. Which one was a year ago?
I think a year ago, women still couldn't beat men in basketball or any other sport. And it wasn't because of society. You don't see a problem.
By the way, long-distance swimming...
Right, there is a technicality here. In the sense that I know what he's saying, and I know what the editor meant in her article, that society is inherently biased and bigoted and oppressive. But society is this amorphous blob of really complicated interrelationships, and it is what it is. When it comes to societal biases, and I don't mean it in the sense that the article means it, is that we are predisposed psychologically to perceive men and women differently. It's on a very base level. And our society, if you think about where we came from when we're thinking about the hunter-gatherers that I was talking about earlier, and the way that other civilizations have been in the past, it's almost hard-coded that that we do things differently, and that we view each other differently, and that we naturally take up different jobs in society. However, I do think that we're reaching a point in civilization now where we're actually outgrowing that, and we're actually realizing that we don't need to be beholden to our base evolutionary coding if we don't want to. Like, we have free will, we have the capacity to imagine, to perceive a different future than the present that we're living in, and I'll say one of the few animals on the planet that can do that. I'll talk about that another time if people want. But yeah, so I think that in that sense, that yes, society is partly why that couldn't happen, but not in the way that it's being politicized at all.
Women might actually have the advantage. You can look into that. Yeah.
Maybe long distance swimming.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
What about everything else?
I've looked into it. Yeah.
He's so weird. It's so funny.
Well, I'm going to file you under part of the problem.
I think